Awesome. Yeah, hey everyone, welcome to the Fundamental Escape podcast. I'm your host, Mark Fitzgerald, and today I'm really excited, like super excited to have Dakota Gallimore, who is the founder, the CEO. I don't know, is that your official title?
Yes. CEO, founder, owner.
How does it feel? So just for the listeners' sake, how old are you again, Dakota?
I am 25. I turned 25 on December 31st.
Oh, wow. So how does it feel to be a 25-year-old that can call yourself a CEO?
Awesome. I really like it, more or less just because I have a chance to change the world.
Yeah. I love it. Love it. And I have to say, to set some tone for the conversation, I found very quickly that as soon as you start any kind of campaign for marketing or anything online, you just get inundated with marketing and spammers and let us help you and let us crowdfund and blah 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 blah. So you guys, the way I connected with you, obviously, we're not discussing my project today on this show, obviously, but I do have one that I've been talking about on other podcasts. But I am looking for crowdfunding at the moment, and as soon as I started a Kickstarter campaign, I got here's like message after message after message, and you're just like, I'm being spammed with marketing. And then Dreams.Build comes along in a very human, way. And quite honestly, and I said this to you, off record, I guess, but your company, Dreams.Build, which is a, essentially crowdfunding platform, came across to me as very, very human, I have to say. And I wonder what steps you guys have taken to be, because it's clear to me you've been quite deliberate about that, right?
Yeah, we have. We think that customer service is super important, right, to any business. And so that translates to everything. Behind every Twitter handler is a human, right, is a person. And so you have to treat it like that. And so we treat everything as if we're talking to a person in person, right?
Yeah.
And so we scour through like crowdfunding and everything. We try to help people. We try to retweet to our followers, which, we've targeted towards crowdfunding in general so that the retweets aren't just going to deaf ears. They're going to actual people that are interested. And so we try to help.
So I'm just thinking, it's quite funny. I'm thinking in my head, like, the way we're like opening up this conversation is quite interesting because we haven't even really yet set the tone for what Dreams.Build even is. But I think it's interesting to kind of take a bit of a step back to talk about the marketing side of things. And there seems to be, and I'd be keen to do a little bit of a chat and get your thoughts on the sort of like the philosophy of marketing online, and what is the biggest mistake that companies are making when trying to make these real connections with people?
I would just say copy and paste replies.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I can't tell you how many, like, dear Mark, we are this person. Like, here's how we can help you. And I'm like, here's the thing. I like to say this as somebody who's on the other end of this. Like, if those emails and those connections had anything remotely indicating that the person sending them had 10% of an idea of what I was talking about or what I'm wanting, I would be much more interested, right?
Yeah. If you just do copy and paste, it's lazy, and that person deserves more, and you need to make them feel like you've read it because you have read it. You need to see what their idea is. You need to connect with them. You can't just copy and paste. I can't just be like, here's a generic copy and paste that works for everybody. No, you need to do it for that specific person. You need to take the extra 20 minutes that it takes to create it from scratch and do it for that extra person. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm just thinking, like, I was actually going to pull up your Twitter page in front of me. What is the, you'll know it before I pull it up, I guess, but on your website, there's a in your header on Twitter, there's a slogan or something. Oh, here it is. Introductions are simply amazing. You get to know one another, forging a relationship that will last a lifetime. We are Dreams.Build, and we welcome you to the world's first two-stage crowdfunding platform. Now, I'm going to sell this better than you probably could, to be honest, because I'm a salesman. What I love about that is a couple of things. First of all, it's a clear statement of purpose and intent, right? It kind of cuts to the chase. It's got some tenacity and boldness to it as well. Like you're making... It's sort of like... I guess I'm starting to, with marketing and things, I'm starting to think of everything in the context of actually meeting a physical person, right? They always say, when you're in the world of sales and things, like, the whole first impressions last, right? That's a simple, a platitude. But, even to the point of, how firmly you shake someone's hand in a real conversation, like a real interaction, right? That statement that I just read out from your Twitter, that's a solid handshake, right? It just is.
Well, thank you. Yeah,
He's blushing a little bit, by the way, for the listeners.
A little bit. We sat down and we really wanted to come up with a banner that made that connection, right? Because that's what our brand is about. And crowdfunding, I think, competing platforms have lost that, where they just don't... I mean, businesses in general are losing that, and this was our way. We actually redid that entire header, probably just that one sentence, probably 170 times until we finally settled on it, and we just knew. We were just like, this is, like you said, a firm handshake.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'll give you a warning. I'm gonna make an allusion to my concept, but not talk about it explicitly. But this is what the concept behind it, and the reason I want it to become a thing. And people can look it up for themselves. I'll put links in the description. But, the reason I want my app idea to be a thing is because I think there's two things that sort of either happen in this online space, is that you get people that just kind of get tired of it, and they get tired of the marketing and the spamming and the kind of inhuman connections. And then you just get people that kind of just buy right into it, and they become like network marketers, and they kind of just go down that avenue and just, like you say, spam everyone with copy and paste, and it becomes very, unhuman. And it's really funny, actually. A really good friend of mine, he's a sort of a millennial. He's a lot younger than me, but he used the term going into monk mode, and I thought it was quite interesting. Like, he's talking about this sort of phenomenon where there seems to be people that kind of are switching off to a lot of this online stuff and just kind of becoming very disillusioned by it because of its inhumanity. And I wonder, on a personal note, if you do have any kind of thoughts on that idea.
Just that businesses are losing it on a personal note, in a way?
Well, the kind of response to it, because I think what you're doing is great, because you're not railing against, you're not just kind of trying to do, I think what I'm trying to say is, it seems to be about harnessing the technology, or this sort of idea of using the tools as opposed to the tools using us.
Yeah. So, social media and stuff is there to reach out to other people. It's not there for spam. It's not there to just annoy other people, frivolously. It's there to connect. And if you don't use it to just connect, and all you're doing is just shoving your product down somebody's throat, it's just... I think that's an abuse. I don't like it whenever I get it on my personal stuff. I don't, that goes straight into my trash bin and stuff. And so when I was creating my company and stuff, I didn't want my company to be like that. I didn't want for us to be just another, person that we just slam content down. Yeah. So,
what's interesting? I mean, again, I'm not going to name names or libel anyone, but I recently, not so long ago, worked for a company that was essentially an online idea that was founded by somebody around the same age as yourself, right? It was a pretty good concept. It was a pretty good idea, and it was clear that the guy was really passionate about it. But what inevitably happened was it kind of became... He got really good funding for it. It actually went on to a stock exchange and things, but it sort of it seemed a little bit corporate, and these sort of big wigs took over and wanted to monetize as much as possible, and kind of when it become I think I said to you the other day, say Facebook, for example, I would have personally loved to have been a part of Facebook in its conception, right? But you literally could not pay me to work for them today. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And here's what I want to slowly start introducing your idea and hear the origins, because I'm curious to ask, before we explicitly talk about the business itself, what were some of the key experiences that you had that kind of formed your philosophy and your idea around Dreams.Build?
So, being a kid, all my family and all my friends would say that I would always just take my shirt off for another person, right? That's just who I was.
I thought you mean you just like getting your shirt off.
Well, no comment.
Sorry, I completely misinterpreted that, but keep going.
I think the saying's like, take the shirt off your back.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
So,
a good Samaritan.
Yeah. So when I was in college, I was learning programming, right? So I have a dual degree in software engineering and computer science. And I was learning Android programming because they were teaching me in school like command line, like, typing out text and everything, and they're like, "Oh, you made this cool app," and I was like, "Nobody's going to use that. Let's be honest. Nobody's going to download and get excited about a command line program, unless you're probably a developer, and it probably does something really cool." Yeah. But so I looked at when I was learning Android and stuff. I was looking at the App Store, and I noticed something that almost always was true, and that was that there was 1 million apps on the App Store, and not a single company on that App Store was promoting anything for charity or making a better world, was making a better tomorrow. Yeah. And so that's kind of where I originally got the idea of I wanted to do something to change the world, to make an impact, and I was seeing all that stuff, and so I was like, there's millions of companies. If they all even just donated $1 a month to charity, they would make a huge impact, right? Huge. Absolutely. So that's kind of where the fruition of it was, and then from that, I manifested it into what Dreams.Build is today.
Yeah. So can we? I think inevitably the question arises when you say things like change the world, like that's a statement I think that needs to be fleshed out a little bit at least. Like, what does it mean to you? And you're not like, this isn't like a beauty pageant campaign or anything, like, how do you change the world? But like, what does it mean? I know it's a big question, and we're not asking to solve world hunger on this podcast or anything like that, obviously. If we can, that would be amazing. I'm not, but what was I saying? Yeah, what does it mean to you to change the world? Like, what are we essentially trying to change?
Okay, so making the world better. So I know that's a vague term, but there's so many things that fit into that, right? There's so many different avenues to make the world better. And we're doing it in 2 different pronged attacks, I guess you could say. Or not really attacks. Attacks is the wrong word to use, but different ways. So that's the whole reason why we did crowdfunding, right? Yeah. So we wanted a way to help people that are down on their luck who maybe can't even get to a crowdfunding platform, right? Yeah. And then we want to help people because crowdfunding, when I say change the world, I speak for a charity aspect, but also from crowdfunding. So with crowdfunding, you get innovative new products. Like, I go through crowdfunding and I talk to crowdfunding people like yourself and stuff, and I'm just like, I have no idea how you came up with this idea. This is just genius.
Yeah, and you get to find out new ideas. Is that what you're sort of saying?
Yeah, in a way. And on that part of changing the world, you're introducing new ideas like, flying cars and stuff like that. Yeah. And then on the other end is on the charity where you're improving the quality of life in the future. Somebody who goes hungry in a day, that's one person too many to go hungry in that day.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I guess I'm allowed to talk about this because we had, we had Scott Harrison on our podcast. He was one of our guests, and their story is amazing. This whole idea of, it's public information. It's not, not libelous to talk about at all. I don't know why I'm hesitating, but Scott Harrison's story is amazing because he was essentially this guy that had this lifestyle of, getting paid to be a nightclub promoter in New York and things like that, and then just getting profoundly bored, and he goes across to Africa and, finds out about the water crisis and things, and, just gives his life to this cause, right? Like, and again, you and I, go back to your story, we Skyped the other day, obviously, and we resonated with each other, I think, quite quickly, and I expected it, to be honest, because, quite honestly, Dakota, you strike me as this person that, and I resonate so strongly with these personalities, because you're this kind of why person. Like, why does it have to be this way? Why do we have to be conventional? Why do we have to stick to the rules? Like, you seem to be quite clued in on this concept that we can change things.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I do. I think humans have the ability, especially now more than ever, to change anything that they want to through collaboration, right? Yeah. You get humans together and they can achieve anything. I mean,
good or
we
bad.
set a man on the moon, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we can achieve anything.
Yeah.
All that it matters is just setting your mindset to it.
Absolutely.
So
and
I
want to be very deliberate and say, throw a word in this conversation, which is the word that comes to mind to me is the word humility, right? Like, to have enough. I think a lot of these collaborations, like, for example, my friend Jacob and I, who are collaborating at the moment, I tell you that you sort of say, where do these concepts come from? I can give you a short answer to that. They come from very intense conversations and usually arguments. Because quite honestly, Jacob and I have this connection where we have this incredible ability to argue with dignity and respect. And it's, I'm not making it sound more dramatic than it is. Like, we have these really intense conversations where we, I'm like telling him, like, no, shut up, like, blah, blah, blah. And he pushes back and we, and I think I actually tweeted this the other day. I was like, I have become this person in my life where I am fundamentally not afraid to fail, right? Like, it's that whole thing, there's sort of quote that says, you're going to miss 100% of the shots you never take, sort of a thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I love Dreams.Build. I'm such an advocate. Honestly, I love what you're doing. Even if, there's no, like, regardless of whatever happens mutually, but, I think you guys are doing something fantastic. I'm so keen to be, even aware of it. So let's talk about some specifics. So what's happening? So when was the idea kind of conceived? What's the time frame we're looking at?
So it was conceived about mid-sophomore year in college, right? And it went through a lot of different revisions and changes through that time into what it is today. And because it was originally a crowdfunding platform for software projects only, mainly just because I was in computer science. And so it started about that time, but before even doing any development whatsoever on the site or even contacting anybody to do the development, starting this business, I was just kind of like, well, we can't just go into it blindly. You can't just build a platform and be like, okay, well, here's this awesome platform. There's a lot of research that has to be done. And so I gathered up a huge team and we conducted 2.5 years of crowdfunding research of what happened to projects after they were funded, what happens to projects while they're being funded, and what contributes to it. Connecting the dots to what projects did before they actually got onto the platform, if it helped or hurt them on the platform, and if they got successfully funded and what they did to get successfully funded. So we did all that, and we found a lot of stuff upcoming in the industry and a lot of things that platforms should be doing, but they're not. Yeah. And so with that, we had the opportunity to build a platform completely from scratch that addressed a lot of these issues, because I think no matter what, crowdfunding platforms need to be on the forefront of the industry and tackle anything that is up and coming. So, like, per se, crowdfunding fraud and stuff. You see platforms now just kind of like brushing it under the rug, and they're like, oh, well, it's there, but can't really be fixed. No, your platform should go about trying to find a solution to minimize it to the maximum amount that it can. So
can you, because I'm a little bit ignorant about this stuff, so when you're saying fraud, like what sort of a common, is this a common thing that's happening, or what, can you talk about that a little bit?
It's not common, but as the industry grows, you definitely see it's becoming more and more of an issue. Even if it's just one project that's becoming fraudulent or being attacked, then therefore that's one project too many in my eyes.
Is there any examples at all, by the way?
Well, so you have, there's a lot. I'm not going to throw out any names, but there's two different major types, which would be project fraud and sponsor fraud or backer fraud, where backers will contribute to a project and say it might be $10,000, and then they just get the reward from the project, but they don't actually fulfill the project. So basically, when the project gets successfully funded, if they hit their goal,
so there's no kind of thing in place to make sure the things actually happen.
Exactly. So they may not get that $10,000. So the project creator might have been like, oh, well, I'm successfully funded. I'm going to go ahead and put plans in motion because I'm getting this funds. And then they come, the project successfully funded, and say they got attacked by a sponsor which donated $10,000, and it was a fraudulent card, that doesn't actually work. And then they're successfully funded. They're expected to deliver, but they're $10,000 under project.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a big issue, and so it doesn't happen a lot, but it's definitely something that as the industry gets bigger and bigger and bigger, it's going to become more and more.
So let's talk about the exciting stuff. So we kind of covered some negatives, which is interesting. But so what is I'll ask you a kind of a passion type question. So as the CEO of Dreams.Build, what is the most exciting part of the business for you?
There's not just one thing that I could say, but I would say waking up every day and making a difference in somebody's life, but really creating what I believe to be the start of the perfect crowdfunding ecosystem. It's no longer just a platform. It will become an ecosystem of crowdfunding.
Wow. So what are the elements that make you describe it that way?
So platforms now are just to develop and get funding and then get out the door, right? So, but you're basically being the middleman, transferring the funds from one person to another. Whereas I think a crowdfunding platform should be an ecosystem that harbors the creation of an idea, that sees it through, helps people, creates like a community driving around your idea, and not just outside of the platform. This is all happening within the platform, and then afterwards, maybe helping you and supporting you. And that's something that we really want to take our platform. We're launching as a platform, but we think that platform should be an ecosystem of getting it from scratch to market and then onwards. So it's kind of
So talk me through. Say I come to you with an idea. Imagine I had an idea. So say I come to you with an idea. What's the take us through the process. So why Dreams.Build? So why should I come to you as opposed to Kickstarter or Indiegogo or whoever? What's the different? What are the key differences?
So we have a lot of key differences. One of the things that is the most dear to my heart, and what we kind of touched on before, is our charity donations. So every project on our site will help go to our monthly charity donations, in which we will be donating 1/6 of our profits to well-established and well-renowned charities.
Yeah.
And so we think that that's something really big, and it doesn't actually interfere with project creators or sponsors or at all, because we're taking it out of our cut.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So just I guess I feel like playing devil's advocate a little bit, but say if someone said to you, to take the charity side of it further, because I know you well enough at this point, I would say, to know that you definitely have a genuine heart for charity, and it's a heartfelt kind of conviction. I know that. I've talked to you a couple of times, and I can pick that up already. But say to someone from the outside, what if someone sort of made the argument to say, oh, this charity element is just kind of a bit of a gimmicky, you're just wanting to make yourselves look more appealing and generous, and how do you kind of express yourself there? Because I think it's a good point to push back on.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking with a whole bunch of charities in ways that they can verify our donations. But we will also, on our site, we will have, where you can check us as well to make sure our numbers line up and everything when we donate, a ticker that will automatically update based upon the projects that are successfully funded that month. It will donate and take the calculations of how much we will be donating to charity. And that will be right on our front page.
So it's completely transparent.
Yeah, and then every month when we do it, we will also be making a blog post showing the receipt or what have you.
Nice.
Charity has because we want to be transparent about this. We don't want to, you can claim that you give to charity, but if you don't actually give to charity, you can't back it up. Why should people believe it?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm actually really glad I asked that question because you gave a fantastic response. If you didn't, that would have been maybe a bit of awkward air. But no, I felt safe asking that question because, as I say, I can see that it's clear. Even with what I was referencing earlier with the approach to Dreams.Build and the way you set yourself forward online, it's You didn't come across to me as spamming at all. I mean, quite honestly, I don't specifically. We connected through Twitter, I think, didn't we?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, that's the thing. It's such a this was the funny thing I have to say is that our connection felt so organic that it wasn't like I know that I don't have an email in my inbox from hey, we're Dreams.Build. Let us help you. You didn't do that. I know enough to know that wasn't how we connected, but I was like, we just genuinely connected on Twitter. I was like, that was a genuine, organic connection. And I think that's a testament to what you're doing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And
yeah.
There's tons of other things that also contribute to people coming onto our platform. We're not just solely relying on just charity donations. We have a lot of other things too.
So when you say, I'm curious because you use the word ecosystem. So, but then you also sort of do say that it's just a platform as well. So I'm still curious to understand a little bit more about what you mean by ecosystem. So are you talking about the point in which a campaign gets funded, then there's still more support and ongoing? Can we talk about that a little bit?
So when the platform launches, it will be a platform, right? But our end goal is to turn it into a whole ecosystem for crowdfunding, right? And you can kind of see that through some of our platform now where we've already went ahead and laid some of the groundwork with we're implementing forums into the platform. So now you have this new tie-in to where you're not just commenting on a project and being like, oh, well, okay, that's all I can say is, a paragraph and then I have to wait for them to get back, So now we have forums that will be able to talk about the crowdfunding industry, the platform, reach out to our support team, do marketing for your project, and stuff like that, and get well-renowned. And so you're starting to create a community. It's almost like a social network built into a crowdfunding platform.
That's what I was waiting for you to say. I was like, is it a kind of a social element? So, okay, I want to be very deliberate about how I'm framing this. So, to kind of I think we put a pretty broad brush across what Dreams.Build is and the concept and things like that. So I want to move into some space, say, bringing value to the table in this discussion to say, say I'm a person out there listening to this who has a concept or maybe thinks I have a concept at the very, let's go right to the beginning, right? So I'm a person, I'm not even sure I've got a fully formed idea. I think it's something, I'm not sure. Where do I start? So what would you suggest, in your experience, to a person pursuing a concept from zero?
Well, when our platform launches, before you can reach out to us, and we've done tons of research, so we're always happy to look over projects and give advice on what you can do to get better about just crowdfunding, even if you don't even have a solid idea. So we're always for that. But on the platform, when it launches, you'll be able to take your idea to the forums if you want and ask people within crowdfunding, hey, this is something that I really want to do. Can you give me some advice? And we'll be on there, and then but our community and maybe some experts that have used our platform or used other crowdfunding can give you advice as well.
Because I think it's interesting because I truly believe that there are tons and tons of great ideas out there, but there's the people that have the ideas in their head and their imagination. It's almost down to lacking confidence, right? To not even know, is this a thing? Should I even put time in? This is one thing I've said to my friend Jacob in this idea that we're working on at the moment, is that I said, as long as in our conversations, as long as when we talk about this concept, we 100% believe that it brings value to the table, right? As long as we bring value to the table, we put time into this idea, right? This is what we've kind of agreed on. the moment we think we're wasting our time or there's no value, we just put a stop to it. Like that's how we're being very kind of belligerent about that approach, you know, to say,
Yeah.
Is this does this concept or this seed of an idea? Because let's be honest, right? Like an iPhone started as a thought, an imagination in someone's head, right? Like everything that exists in reality. And it's interesting. I just talked to a guy yesterday about this whole concept about imagination. How everything in reality is built in the imagination, which tying into your name, Dreams.Build, is beautiful to me, right? Because it really alludes to that idea of everything in reality, everything that materially exists started as an idea. So,
Exactly.
so where do we, I mean, so you're saying, I think this is a good place to wind down, because, you know, what you're saying essentially is, to anybody listening to this, if you think you have an idea, or you're not sure where to go, get in touch with you guys, obviously, shameless plug. So that you know, what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is what you're saying is you're happy for people to come to you with ideas and to sort of give feedback. And as you say, to be explicit, this is why I'm not explicitly discussing my idea in this discussion, because other than to say I have one, but to say that
a good one.
Yeah, to say that you're prepared to give sort of feedback or help. Like, what I'm trying to ask is, what's the because I know, like you've said explicitly, like being a sort of crowdfunding platform, you can't be partial to any one idea. But you know, what say if somebody, like what I'm trying to say in closing, if somebody came to you with an idea tomorrow, if you got an email from random person tomorrow says, "Hey Dakota, I've got this idea," what sort of feedback would you give them as Dreams.Build?
It depends on what they're asking. If they have an idea, I will tell them to go out and just try it. You know, you may be afraid. Just go out and just pitch your idea to people, even just random strangers on the street. Because that's what I did. You know, I went and on college campus is the greatest thing. You know, I was like, well, I have this crowdfunding idea and everything. I just pitched it to people, and a lot of them were like, why are you coming up to me and asking me this? But you know, so with crowdfunding, we're crowdfunding experts, but we can also give you advice on anything. But you know, if you have a project out there, shameless plug, you know, I'll review over it and we'll give you advice on how to better fine-tune your crowdfunding project. But if you just have an idea that you really want to see if it's viable, I would say go out and try it, because you know, just get feedback, see how viable it is. If people respond to it well, then go for it, because
have the guts. Yeah, I think this is a great place to close this conversation, because I think it really is about courage. And as I said, I'm in this place now where I am fundamentally not afraid to fail. I'm like, what have I got to lose? You know, give it a shot. I think that's a great message to wind down on, because quite honestly, as it's been said, that kind of cliche saying that you're going to miss 100% of the shots you never take. And when I used to, as I say, I used to do door-to-door sales, and we used to watch these kind of videos on YouTube, like these clips from like sales type movies and just inspirational things, right? There was a guy, I can't even remember the guy's name, but he said this thing that just, you know, when you hear those kind of statements, they just like burn in your brain like forever, you know? There was like one of those quotes where he says, at the end of your life, you're going to say one of two things: I'm glad I did, or I wish I had.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's my profound thought. I don't know if you have any profound thoughts to leave the listeners, but that's me.
Yeah, actually I do. I listened to something once, and it really kept with me, and it was just that, what if you were sitting on your deathbed, right, and you lived your entire life, and all around you are your ideas and your possibilities, what you could have achieved, and they're all sitting around you, and they're just shouting, you know, at you, or just saying at you, you know, what could I have been? I'm dying with you. You didn't let me out. I'm going to the grave with you. Wow. And so all those possibilities are dying with you, and they're screaming to get out, but it's too late now. So you need to go, and you need to do it now, because you may be afraid. You may be, you know, you might be afraid to put all your effort into something and have it fail. But at least you tried. At least you got somewhere. That's a lot more than somebody who didn't try. And
isn't that true? I think it's such a universal human thing that resonates. And I'm just thinking in closing, you know, isn't that you know, when you're a kid growing up, you watch all these like movies that have this underdog tale of someone down on their luck who just kind of gives their all and comes out, winning. And, we love that hero's journey, right? That kind of, and just give it a go. I guess that's where we'll leave it. But so, Dakota, look, thank you so much for connecting on the podcast today. It's been amazing to get a little bit of insight into your idea and your philosophy and things on Dreams.Build. So, thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to be on.
Cool. Awesome. I'll just stop it.